what's going on, everybody? My name is Guy. This is Guy Talk Sports. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you watching this video, clicking on the thumbnail. In today's video, I'm going to give a little preview about NC State. Tennessee set to play them this Saturday. I'm going to give my updated opinions on this game. I will kind of review what happened with the last game between Tennessee UTC as well as NC State and Western Carolina, who I think is going to win, my official score prediction, and then also going to give you the info on when and where to watch this game. Now, if you want to jump ahead to any point in this video, I will post the timestamps of the various topics that I cover in the description below. Just go ahead, you can click on that if you want to skip ahead to any of the sections. Before we get into anything, though, real quick, look at the bottom. There's a subscribe button right under the screen. Go ahead and smash that for me. Help me continue to grow this channel. Let's get into this. So last Saturday, Tennessee absolutely demolished UTC. It was bad for UTC anyway. It was Nico looked absolutely amazing. I think he broke like the most passing yards in a single half by a Tennessee quarterback. Tennessee I think put up 718 total yards, which was like the third or second most in school history. Again, this is UTC, and I'm well aware that this is UTC we played, right? This is not Alabama. This is not Georgia that we played. It's UTC. UTC is a great FCS team, but it's still an FCS team, and I get that. But I do think you can take some of the things that happen in this game and kind of project that into the future, right? And I think Nico is going to be a star. The wide receivers look great. For the first time that I can remember, maybe since the first year Heupel was here, they had a ton of rotation at wide receiver, and it was, Bruce, Squirrel, they had, Brazel out there, and then you look, next series, all of a sudden Dante Thornton's out there, Chaz Nimrod's out there, and it was like every single person they rotated, and this is without Mike Matthews or Braylon Staley, who are both out. I think they just kind of held them out. I don't think there's any long-term issues there, but it was just they kept rolling out wide receivers. And you're like, oh, that guy could probably start for another SEC team. And he's, second string right now. And so, like, Dante Thornton coming off the bench, caught 3 passes for 100-something yards and 2 touchdowns. And so, every time a wide receiver catch the ball, it was always, wow, it was really good ball placement by Nico. And, wow, what a great catch, or what a great move, after the catch by that wide receiver. I thought the tight ends looked really good. Ethan Davis got in the passing game. It's good to see him finally out on the field. I thought the running game, ever since spring ball, there's been talk all offseason about should Tennessee add another running back, because you knew you had Dylan Sampson. Cam Selton, you knew you had him, but he was hurt and you didn't know when he was going to get back. And then behind him, you had a walk-on in Deshaun Bishop, so you really didn't know what you were getting, as well as Peyton Lewis and Khalifa Keith, who both played. Khalifa Keith ran really hard, I thought. But Deshaun Bishop just absolutely shined in fall camp. And then in this first game, I think you got to really see that. You got to really see him. And I think they turned what should have been a weakness in this offense. You knew the passing game was going to be good. You had a good idea that the tight ends were at least going to be serviceable, but now it looks like they're going to be really good. And now you have this running game that you thought was going to be a weakness. Well, in actuality, it's one of the highlights of this offense, and I think it's just another strength. The O-line looks really good. It's a veteran O-line. I don't know if you're a defensive coordinator, I don't know what you do to try and slow this offense down. I really don't. They can run the ball. They get you out in space. Nico can make any of the passes that you need him to make. It's a tough offense. It's a tough offense to play. And, it was really refreshing. not hating on Joe Milton or anything like that, but to see the middle of the field utilized like it was, it was really nice to see. And defensively, I thought the front seven played really well. It's tough to gauge the secondary. There was a few times where I think you saw a cornerback out of position or lose coverage. But overall, I felt like it was really hard to gauge how good the secondary was, mainly because how well the front seven played. In particular, the D line. That D line is so good, and they are so deep. They are so deep. And I think James Pierce only played like 10 snaps that game. Probably number one, edge rusher in the country. Played 10 snaps, and so that's why you didn't really hear his name any on other than pregame on last Saturday, mainly because he didn't. All right, so I might sound a little different right now. I may look a little bit different than I did the first half of the video. I was editing this thing down, and half of the file was corrupted or something, and so like half the audio for the video I recorded this morning did not show up on the editing software. So for this second half of the video, I may look and sound a little different. So just to recap, Tennessee crushed UTC. Tennessee looked really good. Tennessee's defensive line looked amazing. Really could not. I was talking about how the secondary couldn't really gauge how well they played because of Tennessee's defensive line and how dominant it was. And so let's now shift gears into the NC State game that happened last week. They looked terrible against Western Carolina. Western Carolina is an FCS program, currently ranked lower than UTC. This was supposed to be a blowout game for NC State, and it was not. And so, they were losing by 4 going into the fourth quarter. And I don't know if they were just preparing for Tennessee in fall camp and kind of overlooked Western Carolina. If you remember, under Jeremy Pruitt, Tennessee did that. I think we were playing like BYU the second week or something like that. And then we got beat by Georgia State. So NC State messed around with Western Carolina long enough that they looked like, they were in a fist fight in the fourth quarter. They ended up pulling away late, but it was a close game, and NC State did not look good. Does this mean they're a bad team? No, absolutely not. Everybody is allowed to have bad games, right? But there are definitely, just like Tennessee's humongous win against UTC, and how you can't take everything from that game and expect it to be like that all season. You can take some of the key points away. That Nico's looks good, the offense is looking good, the defensive line looks good, things like that. Same thing can be said for a game like this. There are red flags that I think you can take from this. I don't think that that NC State's offense is where they want it to be. I think McCall is a better quarterback than he showed in this game. Yeah, he still ended up 26 of 40 for 318 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. But they struggled, especially early in that game. And I think ultimately McCall's going to be fine. He was a great quarterback before he came to NC State, but I do think they struggle, and I think he's going to be fine, especially because they have Concepcion at a wide receiver, and he looked unreal. He had 9 catches on 14 targets for 121 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's going to be a problem for Tennessee's secondary. Now, I think there's 2 things to look at in this game. I think the NC State's defense isn't as good as it was last year. I think they expect their offense to be a little bit better, and it's not. So it's harder. I think it's harder to gauge where NC State is than it is where Tennessee is. I think you see Tennessee, and I think you can expect them to be a pretty good team this year. NC State, I think they're a little worse than what what people were thinking they were going to be. But again, it's hard to gauge that on one game. And so, I think there are 2 big time matchups here, and it's all against their offense against Tennessee's defense, right? So can their offensive line hold off our defensive line long enough for McCall to drop back and let Concepcion run a good route? And then because if he can catch it, if there's a red flag with Tennessee, it's our secondary. The secondary is very suspect. I mean, you have McCoy, you have Gibson at corner, you have McMurray. Behind them, it gets a little suspect. I think the starting rotation at cornerback's fine. I think nickel, or the star position for Tennessee, it's young but talented. Safety is suspect, though. Safety especially, I think that talent level has dropped this year. And it'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see, if given enough time, how well can Tennessee's secondary hold up. But the thing is, I don't think there's going to be enough time. I think Tennessee's defensive line is just too deep, and it's too talented, that I just don't think there's going to be enough plays to be made to be able to keep up with Tennessee. And this kind of makes me shift more towards what my score prediction is going to be. I think what you're going to see is Tennessee likes to start out fast. They like to start off strong. I think most years Josh Heupel's offense leads the country in first quarter scoring. They like to get out the gate fast. And I think when you see that, if NC State has a couple 3-and-outs, heaven forbid a turnover, you could be looking at a 14 to 21 point deficit in the first quarter. And what is that going to lead to? It's not going to lead to them running the ball more. They're going to have to start throwing the ball, and they're going to have to start doing some drop back passes to try and hit some big plays to play keep up. Because that's typically what teams have to do. If Tennessee gets the start that they want, teams have to play keep up. And because of that, I think the defensive line is going to have a field day with NC State's offensive line. And I think that's why McCall is going to look really bad this game. I don't think McCall's a bad quarterback. I think Tennessee's defensive line is going to make him look bad. I think if you look at Tennessee on the offensive side of the ball for Tennessee, we do still have a really young quarterback, right? He's just a redshirt freshman. Say he has a redshirt freshman game, throws a couple picks. I think Tennessee still can rely on that run game enough. And that could make it more of a dogfight, right? If Nico doesn't play as good as he can, that could make it things a little bit closer. I think Tennessee's run game is still just so much stronger than what NC State can handle, that I think Tennessee's going to be fine either way. But I expect Nico to be good, and I think like I've been saying, I think Tennessee goes up early. That makes NC State have to throw the ball more, and that just plays right in line with our defensive line that is 3 deep at every single position, and it's going to be a long, long day for McCall. And so while I don't think NC State is a terrible team or anything like that, I think they match up really poorly against Tennessee. And so I think they're only favored by like 7.5 or something like that, Tennessee is. And so I'm going to make my official score prediction much larger than that. I think Tennessee wins this game 45-24. That's a lot. It's a lot of points. I get it. I'm a Tennessee fan. This is a biased opinion for sure. But I watched Tennessee play UTC, and I watched NC State play Western Carolina, and there is, from what it looks like to be, a larger talent gap than I expected when I was making these predictions in the preseason. I thought this was going to be a much closer game, but I think Tennessee is going to go up early. NC State's going to have to throw the ball around, and they're just not going to be able to because of our defensive line. You got James Pierce, Joshua Josephs, Tyree West. I mean, like I said, Tennessee is 3 deep at every position. That could start for other SEC teams. This is the deepest defensive line I ever remember at Tennessee. And I think it's the best defensive line in the country. And I think they're going to be the difference makers. And so at 45-24 is what I'm putting it at. Tennessee goes up early. I think they score probably 21 points in the first quarter or just as the second quarter starting, and I think NC State's just trying to play keep up that whole time, and that plays into exactly what Tennessee wants. So that's my score prediction. So when is this game? This game is going to be played at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, September 7th. You're going to be able to watch it on ABC. They're going to be playing it in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Bank of America Stadium. I'm not really sure how the crowd's going to look. I've been kind of curious because it's only like a 2 or 3 hour drive from Raleigh to Charlotte, where it's like a 4 to 5 hour drive from Knoxville. So Tennessee fans, that's why most bowl games love when Tennessee plays, because Tennessee fans travel really well. They normally fill out stadiums, but because it is a little bit closer to where NC State's from, I'm curious to see. I'm expecting it probably to be a 50-50 mix because it is a little closer to NC State, but Tennessee fans travel really well. It wouldn't surprise me if it's like a 50-50 mix. So excited about this game. I think it's going to be a fun one to watch for sure. I think Kirk Herbstreit's going to call it, and so and Reese Davis, I think. I'm excited. It's going to be a primetime game, and I think it's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be a really good one, and I think it's going to put the country on notice on how good Tennessee is. I think how good Tennessee can be and how good Nico is, because I think a lot of people have seen that Nico's there, but I don't know if people really know how good Nico is, and I'm certainly not trying to keep the hype train going with him. It's hard not to, though, if you watched him play that UTC game, because his passes were perfect. They almost the entire half he played. His passes were perfect ball placement. So I'm super excited to see him play again. I think it's going to turn ugly, especially towards the end of the game. And so that's all I got for this one. I know a little biased coming from a Tennessee fan, but what do you think? Drop a comment down below. How do you think this game is going to go? What's your score prediction? Do you think NC State stands a chance against these Vols? Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. If you don't mind, like this comment, really helps me out. And then hit that subscribe button. Help me continue to grow this channel. Again, thank you so much. Tell somebody about this channel. Tell somebody about Guy Talk Sports on YouTube. Thank you again. Go Vols, and we'll see you next time.